Okay, the time is 4 o'clock. I will call the Plan Commission meeting to order in person and via Zoom. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Commissioner Highfield,
Here.
Commissioner Kesenick, Commissioner Scholl, Council Representative Schultz,
Here.
Engineer Selly,
Here.
Manager Houseman.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have a quorum. We have 5 present. New business, we have review and possible action relating to the minutes of the March 12th, 2024 regular Plan Commission meeting.
I move approval.
To approve.
Ooh, Lauren, can I take yours as a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns about the minutes? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Clerk Ebert, note that Commissioner Kesnick has joined the meeting via Zoom. 3B is review and possible action relating to a site plan review for Opportunities, Inc. for the property located at 201 East Kramer Street. This is site plan review 2024-01. We'll also take the staff report for item 3C, which is review and possible action relating to a certified survey map for Opportunities, Inc. for the property located at 201 East Kramer Street. This is CSM 2024-02. Engineer Selly.
Thank you. Just to get everyone's bearings, I put the aerial photo up here first. What we see here is the existing layout of what I think we'll call the Opportunities Campus. Kramer Street splits the campus. To the north is the area of existing buildings, as well as the addition that we're talking about today. That addition is roughly in this area here. To the south are 2 buildings. We've noted those in the memo as the South Campus West building and the South Campus East building. And those come up within the memo that the Plan Commission may have noted already. The request before us this afternoon is twofold. One for a CSM that would combine the 2 parcels that we have up to the north. So this existing parking lot shown here is its own parcel, and then the remainder of this lot composing the north campus is a second lot. And then the second is, of course, the addition of the site. The addition of the building for site plan review here today. So I think easiest, although it's opposite on the agenda here, is to explain the CSM first, and then we'll go into the site plan, since this particular exhibit kind of helps us understand what's going on there from a CSM standpoint. So currently, as I noted, the CSM is requesting that we combine these 2 lots here, which staff is certainly in favor of. The only challenge that we have associated with that I noted in the memo is that this parking lot here was built in order to accommodate the parking needs for additions that occurred on the south side of Kramer Street some time ago. I regret I didn't look up the actual date, but I think it was about a decade or so ago when these additions occurred. So the challenge that we want to, or not, I shouldn't say a challenge, but the aspect of this that we want to make sure we preserve is parking for future iterations of ownership out here at this site. So 50 to 100 years down the road, we want to make sure that when these buildings potentially change hands, that there's ample parking for all. So you'll note in the packet that we recommended approval of the CSM with a few conditions. And I want to explain the parking condition first. We indicated that this building on the south side to the east has parking around it. It doesn't quite meet the 2,000, 1 spot per 2,000 square feet or largest number of employees, but there's a lot of leeway within our zoning code purposefully on the parking front because we don't want to create expansive parking lots in areas where we don't need them. So on-site parking does exist here on this side of the street. I believe in the memo I noted it was somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think it was 28 spots or something along those lines, kind of scattered around the facility. This building to the west on the south does not have any on-site parking available to it. And so what we've requested as a condition of approval is that this parking area here be dedicated to this parcel. Now, the third parcel in question that we're talking about here with the site plan, it does not have any. I think there are 4 spots up in this area existing. The parking or the employee status of this area is fairly minimal, and you'll note that within the packet contents that were provided. So the need for parking today really isn't there for this addition, nor for the existing North Campus buildings. And as you can see kind of visually here, there's plenty of space for future development of parking in the event that this building changes hands and something of, a more labor-intensive manufacturing might move in here that required a larger number of spots. So the intent then within the approval of the CSM is to, again, dedicate the parking lot that we have here to this building by way of an easement. The parking over on the east side of the South Campus will remain as it is, and then we have determined that parking can be developed in the future on this lot to the north. The other condition that we had in there, and I'll review these when it comes time to move forward with potential approvals, is that the stormwater elements on the north side, so we'll see here in a minute on the site plan, I'll call that out again, that there is some stormwater ponds that are going to be built in this area to accommodate the runoff of the new addition. And there is an existing stormwater pond that is in place here, just kind of wrapping around the north side of the parking lot here, that we'd also like to see placed in an easement. Staff have been moving forward with placing easements on these for quite some time. They really do represent stormwater infrastructure, just as much as a pipe or a catch basin would, but haven't necessarily been looked upon it in that way in the past. So those easements should be fairly easy to call out with the addition, or I'm sorry, with the CSM instrument itself. So before I move into the site plan, we'll have plenty of questions for that. Are there any questions regarding the CSM itself and the conditions of approval? Okay, and we can come back to that too after we talk about the site plan. So let me switch gears here. Remember this area, the existing buildings that we're going to see in the civil site plan it's sort of cut off right about here, and we're looking at the south side of the site. So I'll pull up one of those exhibits here and we can kind of speak to that. Just a second to get this thing to fit our view space here. Okay, so to orient yourself, as I mentioned, those 2 white buildings that we looked at previously are here. Their outline is shown up in this area. The full building is not shown, just kind of the southern portion. That parking lot that we were talking about is right here in the lower left-hand corner. Kramer Street, of course, is along the bottom here. You cannot see anything on the south campus for opportunities in this figure. What the requested site plan approval is for is the addition of a facility, and I cannot read the size there, 50-some thousand square feet, I think it was, in this kind of darker gray area. And then the addition of some loading bays or loading docks associated with that building structure as well. The gray area that you see in here is proposed new, I believe it's new concrete or it could be asphalt, but I believe it was proposed as concrete. Zoning code doesn't really have any concerns there as long as it's a hard surface. And then to the south, as I mentioned earlier, sort of this dot pattern in here of shading is a proposed stormwater pond. And this piece of infrastructure will treat runoff coming from the new addition and then some, I believe, and will do 2 things. Number one, it will help buffer some of that runoff, meaning it'll capture some in the pond and then let it go out a little slower off the site than it would if the pond were not there. And then the second thing it will do is provide some stormwater quality improvement. So some of the pollutants and things like that will be allowed to settle out in the pond before they get into the pipe and into the river. So from a plan view perspective, this is the proposed addition to the building. As you'll note within the memo, And I'm going to try to bring up the figure here in the memo. So just bear with me a minute as I sort of stumble through these things. The Bluetooth, I'm right at the edge of the Bluetooth range here, so it's a little challenging sometimes.
Oh, we'll be good.
That could have been better. There we go. That's a little better. Just about all of the requirements for the site plan within the zoning code have been met. The only area that we wanted to bring the commission's attention to was this area. So the zoning code requires the use of class 1 and class 2 materials in various zoning districts. Generally speaking, for our purposes, that means that we're dressing things up a bit, usually with some sort of a brick facade or some change in materials that remove the ubiquitous white sides of some of these large buildings that we have within the city. And that's been in place for a little while. The focus of those is on the street-facing sides of the building. And so this particular building, if you'll recall, has a south-facing side towards Kramer Street and an east-facing side towards Jefferson Street. Jefferson in particular on the east side of the street is a highly residential area there too. And so Jed, the building inspector and zoning administrator, was working with the design team from Opportunities, who I should note for those on the Zoom, they are here in the front row. Those are the folks you can see on the camera. So if we have any specific questions, we can invite them up. But anyway, they were working on how to meet that letter of the zoning code with this building addition. And the area here has a stepped facade on it at the corner. And it was called out within the packet as just simply being something that we wanted to make sure Planning Commission was comfortable with moving forward. It does meet the requirements for those changes of building materials as noted. It's just a little bit of a different pattern in there. And the reason for that is because the slope on the Jefferson side of things, in other words, the dirt that is there that's going to meet the building is a bit higher on that side of the building than it is on the south side of the building. So that step up will allow these materials to remain visible around the entire side of the building. Again, I don't think that this is anything that is significant, but wanted to make Planning Commission aware of it so you could ask some questions about it if the need arose. There were other minor elements associated with this site plan that we wanted to note. So we do require bicycle parking stalls within our zoning code. There are no sidewalks along the perimeter of this, nor currently is anyone or many of the employees, I should say, are being bused or driven into the area and not riding bikes. So that's one of the conditions that we placed on this, is that the Planning Commission would waive the requirement for the minimum bicycle parking stalls. Curbing is another area, and I'll bring this site plan back up here. Works so much better when I'm closer to the computer. Typically, we have curbing required along the street-facing sides of industrial areas. We are not going to require that, and the reason is this area drains or runs off to the pond. So the addition of curbing here really doesn't do a whole lot for aesthetics nor for pavement preservation. So going without will allow that water to run off seamlessly down into the pond. So no concerns there. On the landscaping side of things, the plan that was shown had more than enough total points required. However, if Commission will recall, those points are broken down between foundation plantings and pavement area perimeters and things of that nature. Excuse me. The foundation plantings were lacking a bit. I think in this particular situation, the reason was just simply that the density was fairly significant related to the space that's here. And we've seen this in a couple of different areas where we've allowed that number required for foundation plantings to not necessarily be achieved, although the number of plantings on the site as a whole is exceeded. So that's another area that I wanted to draw your attention to. We talked about the building material around the southeast corner. And then the only other thing that we had was the location of any proposed exterior mechanicals on the building. Those, of course, need to be shielded, and we didn't have any information on that. I don't know if that's been updated or not. It's really a fairly minor issue here, but Jed, who's not able to be here today, may have had some discussions about that already. So, and then our last is a standard signage plans. If desired, the applicant will submit those to city staff, ensure that they meet the zoning ordinance, but that's not a requirement for site plan approval. So with all of that information, I will ask if any commission members have any questions. And I'll remind everybody that we do have representatives from the opportunities team here in the room and can get their opinion and answers on any questions that I cannot answer if we need to.
Just a question as to the function of the new addition. Is that going to be warehouse similar to what the space that's already there is being used for?
That is my understanding. Yeah, that it's
not a
an
production
extension.
facility in any sense.
Correct. Yeah, the loading docks in this area, I think, were the critical element there that were needed in addition to the space for warehousing.
Andy, can you pull up the plan commission members that are on the Zoom, just so we can
Can.
see if any of them have questions or comments there?
And I thought I could. There we go.
I'll ask a question. Do you have any concerns about the parking, the number of parking spaces?
I don't for the current, so within the packet, they submitted an operations plan. The number of employees that they have at the largest shift is fairly limited. To give you a sense for scale here, Space Saver, which is one of our largest employers, a facility of this size would require about 250 lots or 250 spaces. They do not have that. I think, and I left the numbers on my desk. I think we were at like 30 at most for their facility, full-time employees. Now, there are a number of employees that come in. As we know, Opportunities Business is employing those that aren't able to drive oftentimes or have other challenges. And those employees are being dropped off. They're not parking in cars. And so really, for this particular operation, the parking on the site works perfectly. The part that we were really kind of wanting to preserve, and I think we will do so, is what happens in the future. For instance, using that Space Saver example again, should a company of that nature purchase this property to the north or south or anywhere, frankly, is there enough space to accommodate a future use that would be more intensive to parking? And I think we have answered that with a pretty solid yes with some of the conditions we have in the CSM.
Thank you. Questions from any of the plan commission members relating to the certified survey map or the site plan for this? We will take separate action on those items, but just we can talk about questions together.
I have more of a general question, maybe not specific to the site, but detention ponds. For those that are like actively in use and with water flowing through them, do they, I guess it probably depends on the volume use and sediment, but how long do those last before it collects too much sediment that it would be considered like either failed or, you know, fills up, I guess, with sediment?
Yeah.
Do we have any, I guess, what information
Sure.
do you have regarding that?
It does vary. We've just instituted as of last year, and this is part of our stormwater permit inspection of private. These are called BMPs or best management practices for stormwater. We've just instituted a inspection program for all of those. This particular one, and I think you'll note within the CSM as one of the conditions as well, that the existing pond is in need of some maintenance. This has been in place I know for over a decade. So it's remained functional in that period of time, but it is at the point where it does need to have some attention paid to it. It can vary. If we have a very heavy sediment load coming in here, in addition to, you know, a number of wet years that's constantly pushing sediment into these ponds, their lifespan is, I shouldn't say lifespan, their need for maintenance is certainly increased. As opposed to a situation where maybe the parking lot maintenance doesn't use any sand whatsoever. We run through some fairly dry years, and all of the various particulates getting into these ponds are fairly minor, and therefore wouldn't require maintenance for a longer period of time.
All right, thank you.
And the private property owner would be responsible for that maintenance, correct?
That's correct. The maintenance agreement was included in the packet for this pond in particular, the new pond, and will be recorded with that CSM.
Okay, let's take the certified survey map first, if we would. There is a staff recommendation for approval. Let me get to the conditions here so we understand. Staff recommends approval of the certified survey map, subject to staff review of the permanent parking easement for the benefit of the 100 East Kramer parcel to be recorded with the CSM as noted above. So that is a requirement for a parking easement because this lot will serve both the north building with the addition as well as the southwestern building. The addition of stormwater easements on the CSM for the existing and proposed stormwater basins, excuse me, and the combining of the 4 parcels on the south side of Kramer Street into 2.
Let me note that real quick. I did
Yeah.
forget that little detail. It's a minor one, but I think an important one just to bring up here. I'll go back to that site plan that we had here, the aerial photograph. So the existing parcels on the south side campus, which would be these 2, as you can see, there are 2 parcels, a parcel line going through the middle of this building and this. When we're dedicating the parking over here to this parcel, we cannot do so with 2 different parcels in there. And frankly, today it's unlawful to build buildings across parcel lines anyways. So this is just a simple cleanup. I think that this can be taken care of with a quit claim deed. We'll talk with the county about that. We've had that come up before. It's a fairly minor thing where it just simply takes this parcel line, it goes away. So the combining of these 2 into 1 parcel is a condition, and the combining of these 2 into a single parcel is a condition. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yep. Do we have any thoughts on including a deadline in that condition?
Well, the combination we won't sign the CSM until we see that combination has been made. That makes sense.
The two combinations?
Correct.
Okay.
My assumption is that it would all occur at the same time.
How would we, at a staff level, how would we see that? How would we see those 2?
They would
combinations
submit the
made?
paperwork to us for the CSM, the easements, and then the addition of the combination of these 2 lots should be taken care of probably via email. I would think we can talk with Matt Zangle, the county zoning administrator, about that. I don't know. I'll have to see if we need to sign off on something for that to occur, or how exactly that will be reported, I guess, so we can make sure that it happens. But I don't have any concerns about that, but I do think it's important, as you said, to make sure that there's some paper trail, if you will, about that. So.
And just so I have an understanding of order of operations here, we would not be, the city would not be issuing any building permits for the addition until such time that all of the certified survey maps were recorded and the land divisions done.
Correct.
completed.
Yeah,
Okay.
as a requirement of approval here, all
Okay.
of that paperwork, so to speak, needs to be taken care of.
I think then I'm comfortable without putting a deadline in there because it serves the applicant's purpose to hurry those things along. And then that final condition for the CSM as recommended by staff is any other recommendations from the city staff or the plan commission. So at this time, if there are any additional questions from the Plan Commission or suggestions on the CSM or other conditions, now would be the time to voice those. Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion from a Plan Commission member to approve the certified survey map, subject to the conditions as outlined in the staff report.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns from the Plan Commission? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Now looking at the site plan section. So staff does recommend approval of the site plan for this project, subject to the following conditions. Waiving the requirement for the minimal bicycle parking stalls because the majority of people are dropped off by vehicle at this facility. Waiving the requirement for curbing along the southern edge of the new paved area to accommodate stormwater management. Accepting the landscape plan as shown with the required total number of points being exceeded, even though the building foundation landscaping points do not meet the minimum. I'm going to skip the next bullet because we'll come back to that one. Requiring the applicant to provide information on any proposed exterior mechanical equipment and their locations to ensure they meet the zoning ordinance, which would be approved by city staff. And then also if the applicant has any signage plans, those would need to go through staff and comply with the zoning ordinance as well. So those are the kind of the conditions as recommended. The other item that the Plan Commission does need to discuss and make a determination on is the appropriate building material design around the southeast corner of the structure, utilizing that brick veneer with the grade changes. So as Engineer Selly indicated, what is in the packet meets the design requirements of the zoning ordinance. I guess it's a matter of the Plan Commission as to preference if that change in grade, so to speak, with the brick veneer is what the Plan Commission would like to see, or as an alternative, maybe, 1/3 of the way up the entire building, around the building, we would put the stripe of brick veneer or something of that nature. Engineer Selly, is that accurate? Is the Plan Commission would have options as to where they would want that brick veneer stripe?
I think so. I think if we wanted to do something of that nature, we'd have to look at how that is supported. A floating stripe in the middle of brick veneer may not necessarily be something that's functionally or we could functionally do there. We could create a floating stripe of some other type of material in there if Plan Commission wanted to.
A class 1 material, because that would
Correct.
have to be class 1 to meet the zoning ordinance. Do we have an understanding of the color of this brick veneer and whether or not it is compatible or matches the existing building on site?
I don't believe I do. I'd invite anybody from Opportunities. Do you have a color scheme of that particular? I know Jed was talking with you in detail about
Could you
this.
come up to the microphone, please, and make sure it's on if you would. I'm not sure if that one got turned on. So if there's no green button, please, there's a little switch on the back of the microphone that is an on-off switch. If you could turn that on and then make sure the button is green, and then please introduce yourself for the record. Hit the button.
Circle.
Boyd Coleman with Starkrite Engineering and Architectural Work for the project. We had talked to Jed a little bit about it. It is like I want to call it a Chicago brick. It's like a red or brown with a whitewash to it is what we're initially proposing.
And how does that look in comparison to the rest of the
The
facade of the
building is
building?
primarily, all the buildings are white there, a polar white color by the manufacturer. So I think the white just kind of blends into it a lot better than
Okay.
just a solid brown or whatever.
Okay. And is there a brick veneer on any part of the existing building?
No, so there's no brick. So the far part further north, that building that it blends into, there is no brick on that whatsoever. So the requirements for this class one were started in 2005 or whatever. And we were originally looking at that, but there's a significant cost in adding 15% on the south and east side. We were looking at adding it to the existing, but to switch out the materials and make it work is rather difficult to do. So we were trying to provide some even columns out there. So to meet the requirements for the building addition, we just kept it up. And at this point, we've actually changed a little bit more. We're adding 15% more than what's required right now, just based on the modularity of the panels that we have coming in.
Sure. And I do appreciate the brick veneer there on the two sides that are facing public rights of way that Jefferson Street, as Engineer Selly mentioned, is a mainly residential area. So it's
Right.
nice to dress up some of these kind of white metal buildings a little bit, which is why that requirement exists in the zoning code. Any questions or comments, concerns on the facade as proposed for this project from the Plan Commission? Okay, does the thank you, sir. Does the Plan Commission have any concerns with that building material as proposed in the location as proposed? Okay, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve this site plan, subject to the conditions as are included in the staff report and as I read into the record, and also the one condition is that Plan Commission discussion and determination on the appropriate building material design. So I would say that this the condition would be that the Plan Commission does approve the facade as proposed within the site plan application. So is there a motion by the Plan Commission to recommend or to approve the site plan subject to those conditions, including the facade as proposed?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion by the Plan Commission on the matter? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 3D, review and possible action relating to a special area design review signage for Patty Shack for the property located at 201 South Main Street. Engineer Selly.
Yeah, thank you. This is as council, or sorry, as Commission President Hausman mentioned, this is in the downtown area as part of our special area design review area. This there are 3 levels of that special area design review. This falls under the design alteration review, in which Planning Commission takes a look at the proposed changes and make sure that they are in keeping with our downtown historic signage and elements of our historic facades downtown. I will note that the Historic Preservation Commission also took a look at this request at their meeting in early March, and they did approve this with the certificate of appropriateness. They commended the folks from Patty Shack, Aaron and Mitch Patterson with their attempts at trying to maintain that facade downtown. You're seeing one side of the building here with the proposed colors and alterations in addition to the signage. And then the other side is along the Milwaukee Street side here with a fairly small sign with some down lighting attached to that as well. Staff reviewed this, really came to the same conclusion that the Historic Preservation Commission did, and did not have any concerns with the proposed signage and changes to those facades. I'd be happy to answer any questions that Plan Commission may have associated with this.
Is that a sign or is that painted on the brick?
I believe this is a sign, but I would like to confirm that.
That would be let's see, the western facade has the The signage consists of multiple individual letters. Okay, so those letters and graphics. Round board sign attached to the wall. So that is the north facade.
Correct.
That
This
is
the
a
new
board
wall.
sign that will be attached. It will not be painted on the brick. But it does, the western facade, the front of the building there, as you pulled up before, those, it looks like those might be painted on that facade, but that is less of a concern for me than, you know, obviously the brick, the Creative
Correct.
City brick on the side of the building. Okay, questions or comments from the Plan Commission on this matter?
I have a related question to yours, Rebecca. I guess I would like to know if the letters and the graphics on the front of the building, the west facing facade, are painted on the board that was installed, or are those you know, a material with some dimension to it that's attached to the board that exists?
I don't have, unless it indicates such in the packet, I don't have a ready answer for that. I can surmise that these are likely signs just because of the difficulty of painting something like that on that textured facade. But I can't confirm that.
I'm assuming they are too, but that wasn't clear. I didn't even see the photographs in the packet, so I appreciate seeing those.
Page one, if I may, page 132, I'm sorry, 131 of 132, bullet point the Main Street signs. The last sentence says all front signs will be fastened using exterior rated leg screws.
So that would indicate then that these are all attached and not
Okay.
not painted on.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Ebert. Yes, it says that will be dimensional lettering signs protruding slightly from the building to give them extra dimension. The standoff will be 2 inches. All signs will be cut from sheet aluminum and powder coated to a matte finish. So those details are included on page 131 of the packet.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from the Plan Commission? I'll go back up to the recommendation here and just make sure that if we had any, there were no conditions, so staff does recommend that the Plan Commission approve the requested signs as proposed.
So move.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion by the Plan Commission on the matter? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Number 4 on the agenda is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
I'll
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? No. We are adjourned at 4:38 PM. Thank you all for your time today.